Well, we're more than 2 months into the coronavirus pandemic that has affected the world, not only the US and Sacramento. So, what's going on with Sacramento real estate this far into the pandemic? You might be surprised. If you've been watching my other videos, you know what's going on, but if you haven't, take a look at this. We're going to talk about the stats. This is a monthly update for May 2020. We're going to talk about the April stats. Hey everybody, Doug Reynolds here, your Sacramento area realtor, and we are in the middle of May 2020, the end-ish of May 2020, and we're going to talk about the stats that came out for April. So this is the first month of stats that's official from the Sacramento Association of Realtors that has basically a full month's worth of coronavirus affectedness to it. It happened in the middle of March, so that kind of was a halvesy month. This is the first full one coming out of data. And the data that we're going to talk about here, a lot of it is kind of looking backwards, so it doesn't have as much into it, but I'm shooting some other videos. You watch my other videos, you'll see I'm doing more of videos having to do with a lot of active and pending type stuff where we can see in the numbers that the market has kind of finished the worst and has turned the corner, is actually rebounding very strongly right now. Obviously, there'll be some bumps and bruises along the way as we kind of continue to move through this, but it's very clear in the data that kind of the worst is behind us when it comes to coronavirus affecting the Sacramento real estate market. So let's throw up the stats. We'll talk about those, and then we'll talk about moving forward a little bit as well too, all right? So listings published this month. That was the listings that came on in April. And it was about 1464 in April, obviously down from March, as half of the month wasn't affected in March, but down 30% from this time last year. So you can see that we have a lot less newer homes coming on the market, okay, than this time last year. So there's obviously less supply because there's way less coming onto the market. Active listing inventory, that's how many there are currently right now. And there's a little bit more than 1,800 active, and it's actually up from this time last month. So that's a good thing. There's actually some more homes available, but it's still significantly down from this time last year. It's almost 13% less than what we had at this time last year. So less homes available right now than there were at this time last year. So less supply. Now let's go to the pendings. That's more of the demand side of things. Pendings have been continuing to increase week over week over week for the last probably 4 or 5 weeks now. And so we've got about almost 1,700 pendings, 1,683 pendings, and that is up from this time last year. That is up from this time last month, more than 12%. So you can see that people are getting more comfortable. They're starting to put their houses back on the market, as well as buyers are definitely out there. It's not showing so much in these numbers, but the eyeball test and the smell test for sure. I'm still working every day, and I'm showing property and listing property, and many houses are getting multiple offers, a couple of offers, a few days on the market, and getting sold quickly because there's just not as much inventory as we're used to having at this time of year. And the buyer demand has returned. It returned about 5 or 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, and it's continuing to drive. And so we're seeing pendings continuing to increase. So we have less pendings right now than we did last year, but definitely they're increasing as we're moving forward. So total number of closed escrows, obviously that's a low number for an April month, just over 1,000. There was 1,013. That's down a little bit from last month, which is to be expected. These stats are going to be really wonky for a little while until we kind of get through this for consecutive amount of months before the stats will start to kind of normalize a little bit. And that was obviously down from this time last year, number of closings, but you're going to start to see those closings continue to increase month over month. They're probably not going to be matching year over year, but month over month they're going to start increasing because we're seeing the pendings continuing to increase. And then, surprisingly as well, the median price is just holding firm at $400,000. So we've got a market where sellers are not freaking out. They're not getting super desperate and just dropping prices. Buyers are competing, so they're not just lowballing out there. If you lowball, you're not going to get your offer accepted right now. if you go and look at a house, it's priced right, it shows well, especially the homes under 600,000, it's very competitive. Once you start getting over that, you start probably getting into a jumbo loan product. That's having a little bit of effect on the higher end of the market right now, as jumbo's a little tough and tight on lending. But man, if you're looking at around a 3% interest rate, 3.25% interest rate for a purchase price, 600,000 and less, that is fueling the fire for the demand for buyers on the buyer side. And then we saw in the stats, there's just not as much inventory right now as we would expect for a spring market. So in spite of everything that's going on, the Sacramento real estate market is rebounding, has rebounded a number of weeks ago, and is starting to move forward now with, it's basically pretty low inventory, but more houses are starting to come on. So sellers are starting to move forward with sales. I've got a few listings coming up actually in the next couple weeks as well. So pretty low inventory and surprisingly pretty high demand. When you have not a lot of stuff out there, it doesn't take much for there to be a supply and demand imbalance. And that's what's going on a little bit right now. That's what kind of the trend has been the last few years in Sacramento, and we're seeing it right now in spite of all this. So prices are holding firm, and buyer demand has continuing to remain strong, and so we are still seeing some multiple offers. It is not a market where a seller can just go pie high in the sky and just list at whatever they want. If you do that, you're not going to have success. But if you price it right, you will have success with a number of buyers that are wanting to go after that property. So moving forward, I expect to continue to see much of the same as we move forward. There's probably not going to be enough supply. There's going to be pretty limited supply. There's pretty good demand. And I think pricing is not going to be slipping or dropping. If anything, it might be trickling up a little bit in the coming months. We're probably not going to see a huge jump in it, but maybe a little bit of trickling up. Definitely things that you wouldn't be expecting. I know 2 months ago when this all started, I was thinking, oh my gosh, there's going to be no sales, prices are going to drop, no one's going to be looking at houses or anything. That just hasn't been the case. Buyers that have solid jobs, they're looking. So that's what's going on. If you're thinking about either buying or selling, you got to be strategic in this process right now. I would love to do a Zoom meeting with you, talk about what's going on, and figure out how we can get you strategically set up to have success in this kind of unusual and different market right now. So hope you're doing well. Continue to get out there, stay healthy, get good sleep, and let me know if you need anything as far as real estate goes. Realestatewithdoug.com is my website. Look forward to talking to you soon, and clear skies.